was a strange house, of course, but it was probably less the house than sheer exhaustion that kept Sachiko awake. She had risen early. She had been rocked and jolted by train and automobile through the heat of the day.
And in the evening, she had been chased over the fields with the children. 2 or 3 miles it must have been. She knew, though, that the firefly hunt would be pleasant to remember.
She had seen firefly hunts only on the puppet stage. Miyuki and Komaza was murmuring of love as they sailed down the river Uji. And indeed, one should properly put on a long-sleeved kimono, a smart summer print, and run across the evening fields with the wind at one's sleeve, slightly taking up a firefly here and there from under one's fan.
Sachiko was entrance to the picture.
But the firefly hunt was in fact a good deal different.
If you are going to play in the fields, you had better change your clothes. They were told of and four Muslim kimonos,
prepared specially for them, were laid out, each with a different pattern, as became their several ages.
Not quite the way it looked in the picture, laughed one of the sisters.
It was almost dark, however, and it hardly mattered what they had on. They could still see each other's faces when they left the house. But by the time they reached the river, it was only short of pitch dark.
A river it was cold? Actually, it was more than a ditch, though the pad is a little wider perhaps most ditches,
with clumps of grass bending over it from either bank and almost floating off the surface.
A bridge was still dimly visible 100 yards and so ahead. They turned off their flashlights and approached in silence.
Fireflies is like noise and light.
But even the edge of the river, there were no fireflies.
Perhaps they aren't out tonight,
someone whispered.
No, there are plenty of them. Come over here.
Down into the grasses at the bank,
and there,
in the delicate moment before the last light goes, were fireflies gliding out over the water in the low arcs like the sweep of the grasses.
And on down the river, and on, were fireflies, lines of them wavering out from this bank and the other and back again.
Sketching there are certain lines of light down close to the surface of the water, hidden from outside by the grasses in the last moment of light, with the darkness creeping off of the water, and moving clumps of grass still faintly outlined. There far, far, far as the river stretched an infinite number of little lines in 2 long lines on either side.
Quiet, unearthly.
Sachiko could see it all even now, here inside with her eyes closed.
Surely it was the impressive moment of the evening, the moment that made the firefly hunt worthwhile.
A firefly hunt was indeed none of the regions of a cherry blossom party. Dark, dreamy, rather,
might one say,
perhaps something of a child's world, the world of a fairy story in it.
Something not to be painted but to be set to music, the mood of it taking up on a piano or a koto.
And while she lay with her eyes closed, the fireflies out there along the river all through the night were flashing on and off, silent, numberless. Sachiko felt a wild romantic surge as though she were joining them there, soaring and dipping along the surface of the water, caught in her own uncertain line of light.
It was rather a long little river, as she thought about it, that they followed after those fireflies. Now and then, they crossed a bridge over our backs, taking care not to fall in.
Watching out for the snakes, for snakes' eyes glowed like fireflies.
Sugano's 6-year-old son, Suzuki, ran ahead in the darkness,
thoroughly familiar with the land.
And his father, who was guiding them, called uneasily after him.
Suzuki! Suzuki!
No one worried any longer about frightening the fireflies.
There were so many.
Indeed, without his calling out to one another, they were in danger of becoming separated,
of being drawn apart in the darkness,
each after his own fireflies.
One, Sachiko and Yukiko, were left alone on the bank, and from the other, now brought in a clear and now blotted out by the wind, came voices calling.
Mother! Where's Mother?
Over here.
And Yukiko?
She's over here too.
I've caught 24 already.
Don't fall into the river.
Sugano pulled up some grass along the path and tied it into something like a broom.
To keep fireflies in, he said. There were places famous for fireflies, like Moriyama and Inomi, or the outskirts of Gifu. But the fireflies there are protected, safe from the most important people. No one cares on how many you take there.
Sugano said.
And Sugano took more than anyone. The two of them, father and son, went boldly down to the very edge of the water, and Sugano's bundle of grass became Jewel's broom.
Sachiko and the rest began to wonder when he might be ready to think of going back.
The wind is a little cold, don't you think perhaps? But we are on our way back. We are going back by different road.
On they walked.
It was farther than they thought, and then they were at Sugano's back gate, everyone with a few captured fireflies. Sachiko and Yukiko with their fireflies in their sleeves.
The events of the evening passed through Sachiko's mind in no particular order. She opened her eyes.
She might have been dreaming,
she thought. Above her, in the light of the tiny bulb, she could see a framed kakimono
that she had noticed earlier in the day.
The word
Pavilion of Timelessness,
written in large characters and signed by one Keido. Sachiko looked at the words without knowing who Keido might be. A flicker of light moved across the next room.
A firefly?
Propelled by the mosquito incense, was hunting a way out. They had turned their fireflies loose in the garden earlier in the evening, and considerable numbers had flown into the house. But they had been careful to chase them out, because closing the doors for the night,
where might this one have been hiding?
In a last burst of energy, it soared 5 or 6 feet into the air.
Then exhausted,
it lighted the host room and alighted on Sachiko's kimono, hanging on the clothes rack. Over the printed pattern and into the sleep it moved,
flickering on through the dark lot.
The incense in the badger-shaped brazier was beginning to hurt Sachiko's throat.
She got up to pull it out,
and while she was up, moved on to see the firefly. Carefully, she took it up in a piece of paper. The idea of touching it repelled her,
and pushed it out through the slot in the shutter.
Of the scores of fireflies that had flickered
through the shrubbery
and along the edge of the lake earlier in the evening,
there are almost none left.
Had they gone back to the river? And the garden was lacquer black.
The Firefly Hunt
by Tanizaki Junichiro.